Chapter 1. The Foundation. Jordan Torres closed the medical journal and glanced at the clock mounted above his office door. 11:47 p.m. Another late night at Memorial General, but that was nothing new. In the 8 years since completing his neurosurgery fellowship, late nights had become his normal. He stood and stretched, his reflection catching in the darkened window. At 34, he still looked like the kid from East LA who'd worked 3 jobs to put himself through UCLA, though the designer watch on his wrist, a gift to himself after his first year as an attending, told a different story. His phone buzzed. A text from Alexis. Still at the hospital? Finishing up. Home in 30. Drive safe. Love you. Jordan smiled. 3 years of marriage, and Alexis Bradford. No, Alexis Torres now, still made his heart skip. They'd met at a medical fundraiser where she'd been volunteering. She was the one who'd approached him, interested in his work on minimally invasive techniques for brain tumors. No pretense, no games. Just genuine curiosity and a smile that lit up the room. The fact that she came from money? Jordan had discovered that weeks later. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the parking garage, his mind drifting to their upcoming anniversary dinner. 5 years together, 3 married. Should be a celebration. Should be. But Gloria Bradford had other plans. The anniversary dinner started well enough. Jordan had reserved a table at Maria, Alexis's favorite. She looked stunning in a navy dress, her blonde hair swept up, eyes bright with happiness. I still can't believe it's been 5 years, she said, reaching across the table to take his hand. Best decision I ever made. Saying yes to coffee with the brilliant Dr. Torres. Pretty sure I asked you, Jordan teased. Details. She laughed, that musical sound he'd fallen for. The evening should have ended there. Perfect, simple, theirs. Instead, Gloria Bradford appeared. Jordan saw her first, cutting through the restaurant like a battleship through calm waters. Don Bradford trailed behind, looking apologetic as always. Gloria's silver hair was perfectly coiffed, her designer dress probably worth more than Jordan's first car. Her expression could have frozen wine. Mother. Alexis stood, confusion crossing her face. What are you doing here? Saving you from another year of delusion, Gloria announced, her voice carrying across nearby tables. Diners turned to look. Gloria, please, Don started. Don't Gloria me, Don. Someone needs to tell our daughter the truth. She turned her cold gaze to Jordan. You worthless trash. You married my daughter for her money. The words hung in the air like poison. Jordan felt Alexis's hand tighten around his. He kept his expression neutral, a skill perfected over years of dealing with difficult patients and their families. Mrs. Bradford, this isn't the place. Oh, isn't it? Gloria's laugh was sharp. Where should we discuss how you manipulated my daughter? How you saw her last name and dollar signs? That's enough. Alexis's voice shook with anger. Jordan didn't even know who our family was when we met. So he claims. Gloria crossed her arms. Funny how a poor kid from the barrio suddenly has access to country clubs and society functions. Jordan stood slowly, his 6-foot frame unfolding with deliberate calm. I had access to those functions because I'm one of the top neurosurgeons in the state, Mrs. Bradford. I was invited as a speaker. He kept his voice level, professional. And I married Alexis because I love her. Her bank account never factored into it. Love. Gloria spat the word. You don't know the meaning. You're a gold digger, plain and simple. And one day, Alexis will see it. Get out, Alexis said quietly. Get out right now, mother, before I say something I can't take back. Gloria's eyes narrowed. You're choosing him over your own family? I'm choosing my husband over your baseless paranoia. Alexis's voice was steel. And if you can't accept that, then yes, I'm choosing him. Don Bradford finally stepped forward, his hand on Gloria's elbow. Let's go, Gloria. This isn't helping. As they left, Gloria threw one final look over her shoulder at Jordan. Pure venom and contempt. The dinner was ruined. They went home early, Alexis crying in the passenger seat, while Jordan drove in silence, his jaw tight. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Not your fault, Jordan said, though his hands gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary. But in his mind, wheels were already turning. Gloria Bradford had been waging this quiet war for 3 years. Snide comments at family gatherings. Accidental exclusions from events. Whispers to relatives about Jordan's background. He'd ignored it, taken the high road, focused on his career and his marriage. but there were limits to patience. And Gloria Bradford had just found his. Chapter 2. The game begins. 2 weeks after the anniversary disaster, Jordan sat in his office at Memorial General reviewing a patient file when Dr. Colin Pennington knocked on the door. "Got a minute?" Colin asked. He was Jordan's closest colleague in the neurosurgery department. They'd bonded during their fellowship years, both outsiders in a field dominated by old money and family connections. "Always. What's up?" Colin closed the door and sat down. "Heard something interesting at the Medical Association luncheon yesterday. Your mother-in-law was there." Jordan's expression didn't change. And she was holding court with some of the board members' wives, talking about how Memorial should be more selective about its hiring practices, how some people use their positions to marry into wealth. Jordan's pen stopped moving. "She mentioned me by name?" "Didn't have to. Everyone knows who she was talking about." Colin leaned forward. "Jordan, she's trying to undermine you professionally now. That's crossing a line." "I'm aware." Jordan closed the file. "What else did you hear?" "That she's pushing for her friend's son, some hotshot from Johns Hopkins, to be brought in for the new department head position. The one you're up for." Jordan had been working toward that position for 2 years. His surgical outcomes were among the best in the country. His research on minimally invasive aneurysm repair had been published in 3 major journals. By any objective measure, he was the obvious choice. "Bruce Aguirre," Jordan said. "The Hopkins guy. I've met him. Good surgeon, but his research is derivative. Doesn't matter if Gloria Bradford is in his corner. You know how this works. Politics matter as much as skill." Jordan stood and walked to his window, looking out over the city. Below, people moved like ants, unaware of the small wars being waged in offices and conference rooms above them. "She's not going to stop," Colin said quietly. "Not until she destroys your career or your marriage. Maybe both." "I know. So what are you going to do?" Jordan turned back to his friend. "What I do best. Outmaneuver her." That evening, Jordan came home to find Alexis in the kitchen, looking exhausted. She worked as a grant writer for nonprofits, a job she'd chosen specifically because it had nothing to do with her family's real estate empire. She'd wanted to make her own way, something Jordan deeply respected. "Rough day?" he asked, kissing her temple. "The foundation rejected our proposal. 3rd one this month." She sighed. "How about you?" Jordan considered lying, but they'd promised honesty. "Your mother is lobbying against my department head promotion." Alexis's face fell. "Jordan, I'm so sorry. I can talk to her." "No." He said it gently but firmly. "This is between Gloria and me now. You shouldn't have to mediate. She's my mother, and I'm your husband. Let me handle this my way." Alexis studied his face. "You're planning something." "I'm protecting what's mine. My career, my reputation, our life together." He pulled her close. "Trust me. Always." But that night, after Alexis fell asleep, Jordan sat in his home office and made a call. "Calvin McCarty," answered a gruff voice. "Cal, it's Jordan Torres. I need a favor." Calvin McCarty was a private investigator Jordan had met during a medical malpractice case. Jordan had been the expert witness. Cal had been digging into the plaintiff's background. They'd stayed in touch. "What kind of favor?" "Information. Gloria Bradford. I want to know everything. Business dealings, social connections, anything that doesn't add up." A pause. "Your mother-in-law?" "Yeah." "This about the anniversary thing?" "Heard about it through the grapevine. It's about protecting my family and career. She's escalating. I need leverage." "Leverage?" "Right." Cal's tone shifted to business. "Give me 2 weeks. I'll find what there is to find." "Make it 1 week." "And Cal?" "Discretion. Always document." Jordan hung up and stared at the photo on his desk, him and Alexis on their wedding day, both grinning like idiots. In the background, barely visible, Gloria's disapproving frown. He'd tried the high road, tried patience, tried proving himself, tried letting his work speak for itself. Gloria Bradford wanted war? She was about to learn that the poor kid from East LA had survived tougher battles than country club politics. And he played to win. Chapter 3, The Reckoning. Gloria Bradford's world came crashing down on a Tuesday morning. She'd been feeling off for a few days. Headaches, some blurred vision, nothing serious. Probably stress from managing the Bradford Properties board meeting. She was presenting a new development proposal, one that would cement her legacy as the family's true power broker. Don had suggested she see a doctor. Gloria had waved him off. She was 62 and healthy, apart from the high blood pressure that half the women her age dealt with. The meeting was in full swing when it happened. Gloria stood at the head of the conference table, clicking through her presentation. And as you can see, the profit margins on the Riverside development well. The word stopped. Her vision blurred, narrowed to a tunnel. The worst headache of her life slammed into her skull like a freight train. Gloria, someone said, distorted and far away. Her legs gave out. She felt herself falling, heard screams, felt hands catching her. Then nothing. Jordan was in surgery when his phone buzzed in his locker. A complex tumor resection, 5 hours in, patient stable. He closed the skull with practiced precision, the movements automatic after thousands of procedures. Nice work, Dr. Torres, Janelle Marsh, his scrub nurse said. Textbook perfect as always. Team effort, Jordan replied. Though he knew the delicate work removing the tumor from the patient's brainstem had been all him. Steady hands, steadier mind. He scrubbed out, changed, and checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Alexis. His stomach tightened. He called back immediately. Jordan. Alexis's voice was shaking. It's my mother. She collapsed. They brought her to Memorial. I'm on my way to the ER now. He jogged down the stairs, his mind already shifting gears. Whatever his feelings about Gloria Bradford, she was Alexis's mother. And he was a doctor first, last, always. The ER was controlled chaos as usual. He spotted Dawn Bradford in the waiting area, pale and shaking. Alexis sat beside him, her face streaked with tears. What happened? Jordan asked, crouching in front of Alexis. She was at a meeting. Sudden collapse, severe headache right before. Alexis grabbed his hands. They're saying it might be an aneurysm. Jordan's professional mind engaged instantly. Sudden onset, severe headache, loss of consciousness, classic presentation for a ruptured aneurysm. Who's the attending? Dr. Raymond Lyon. He ordered a CT scan. Jordan found Dr. Lyon at the nurse's station, reviewing images on a monitor. One look at the scan and Jordan's suspicion was confirmed. Massive subarachnoid hemorrhage, Lyon said without preamble. Ruptured anterior communicating artery aneurysm. She needs surgery now, but he paused. It's bad, Torres. The bleeding is extensive. This is a grade 4, maybe grade 5. Whoever operates needs to be the absolute best. I'll scrub in, Jordan said automatically. You can't. She's family. I'm the best you've got for this. Lyon shook his head. Bruce Aguirre is visiting from Hopkins, doing grand rounds. I was going to call him. Bruce Aguirre, the man Gloria had been championing for Jordan's position. The irony would have been funny if the situation weren't so dire. Aguirre is good, Jordan said carefully. But his specialty is spinal surgery. I've done 43 complex aneurysm repairs this year. My mortality rate is 3%, lowest in the region. And if she dies on your table? If her family thinks you. She dies without surgery anyway, Jordan interrupted. You know the statistics. Untreated grade 5 hemorrhage? 90% mortality within hours. Lyon studied him. This is your mother-in-law, the one you have a difficult relationship with. This is a patient with a survivable condition if treated immediately by a skilled surgeon. I'm the most skilled surgeon in this hospital for this exact procedure. Jordan met his eyes. You know I'm right. A long pause. Then Lyon nodded. I'll talk to the family. Jordan waited while Lyon spoke with Dawn and Alexis. Through the glass partition, he saw Dawn's face crumble with relief. Alexis looked torn, hope and fear warring in her expression. Then Lyon gestured for Jordan to join them. The Bradfords have consented to you performing the surgery, Lyon said. Alexis hugged Jordan tightly. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being the bigger person. Over her shoulder, Jordan saw the ER doors burst open. Gloria Bradford's sister, Irma Quinn, rushed in with several other family members. Behind them, as if summoned by the drama, were several of the Bradford Properties board members. Where is she? Irma demanded. Where's Gloria? Mrs. Quinn, Lyon started, but Irma's eyes locked onto Jordan. You, she hissed. What are you doing here? Dr. Torres will be performing the emergency surgery, Lyon explained. He's our top neurosurgeon and… Absolutely not, Irma snapped. After what Gloria said about him, after their history, you expect us to trust him with her life. Don Bradford stood up, his voice firm for once. Irma, Dr. Lyon says Jordan is the best chance Gloria has. He could let her die? Take his revenge. The accusation hung in the air. Jordan felt every eye in the waiting room turn to him. Medical staff, patients, families, all watching to see how he'd react. He could walk away, let Aguirre take the case, protect himself from the accusations, the liability, the politics. But then Gloria would die. The statistics were clear. And despite everything, despite the insults, the sabotage, the pure venom, Jordan was a doctor first. Mrs. Quinn, he said calmly, I understand your concern, but your sister has minutes, not hours. I'm the most qualified surgeon available. I've done this exact procedure dozens of times. I have the best outcomes in the state. He paused. I'm also bound by the Hippocratic Oath. Whatever personal issues exist between Mrs. Bradford and myself, they end at your doors. We can call someone from Johns Hopkins. She'll be dead before they get here. The bluntness of it silenced the room. Jordan turned to Dawn. Mr. Bradford, the decision is yours and Alexis's. I'll respect whatever you choose. But choose fast. Dawn looked at his daughter. Alexis looked at Jordan, and in her eyes, he saw complete trust. Do it, Dawn said. Save my wife. Jordan nodded once. I'll do everything I can. Janelle, prep or 3. Lion, I need you as my assistant. Let's move. As they wheeled Gloria towards surgery, her eyes fluttered open for just a moment. She saw Jordan in his scrubs, leaning over her gurney. No, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Not him. Please. I've got you, Mrs. Bradford, Jordan said quietly. I'm going to save your life, whether you like it or not. Then she was under, and Jordan was scrubbing in, his mind already in the zone where nothing existed except the surgery, the patient, the mission. Save the life, even if it belonged to his worst enemy. Chapter 4, The Knife's Edge. The operating room was silent except for the steady beep of monitors and the whisper of the ventilator. Jordan stood over Gloria Bradford's unconscious form, his hands steady as steel as he marked the incision site on her skull. Scalpel, he said, and Janelle placed it in his palm with practiced precision. This was his cathedral. Here, in or 3, Jordan Torres wasn't someone's son-in-law or a target of gossip. He was a neurosurgeon, one of the best in the country, and he was about to perform a procedure that most doctors would consider impossibly dangerous. The pterional craniotomy took 45 minutes. Jordan worked with meticulous care, removing a section of skull to expose the brain beneath. The subarachnoid space was flooded with blood. The aneurysm had ruptured badly. Suction, he murmured. Janelle complied. Lion, retract here. Gently. Through the microscope, Jordan could see the problem. The anterior communicating artery aneurysm had blown out like a balloon, blood pouring into the delicate spaces around Gloria's brain. The pressure was crushing vital tissue. Blood pressure? Jordan asked. Dropping, the anesthesiologist reported. 85/50. She's herniating, Lion said, his voice tight. Jordan, if we don't. I see it. Jordan's voice was calm, almost meditative. His hands moved with practiced confidence, placing a temporary clip to stop the bleeding. Give me 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes would determine if Gloria Bradford lived or died. And Jordan Torres, the man she'd called worthless trash, was the only thing standing between her and death. His mind was perfectly clear as he worked, isolating the aneurysm, placing the permanent clip at its base. One wrong move, and the artery would rupture completely. Gloria would be dead in seconds. But Jordan's hands didn't shake. They never had. Clip secured, he announced. The monitors stabilized, checking for additional bleeds. He spent another hour meticulously examining every vessel, every millimeter of brain tissue, ensuring no secondary aneurysms lurked. He found 2 more, small, unruptured, but ticking time bombs. These would have killed her within the year, he said to Lion, clipping them both. She's lucky. In a twisted way. Finally, after 3 hours and 12 minutes, Jordan stepped back from the table. Closer up, he told Lion. I need to talk to the family. The waiting room had filled with people. The entire Bradford clan had assembled. Aunts, uncles, cousins, business associates. They all turned when Jordan emerged, still in his surgical scrubs, a small spray of blood on his collar. Alexis rushed to him. How is she? The surgery went well, Jordan said, his voice professionally neutral. I repaired the ruptured aneurysm and clipped 2 additional ones I found. She's stable. A collective exhale swept the room. Thank God, Don Bradford said, his eyes red. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. She's not out of the woods yet, Jordan cautioned. The next 72 hours are critical. There's risk of vasospasm, stroke, brain swelling. But she has a fighting chance. Irma Quinn stepped forward, her earlier hostility tempered by relief. When can we see her? She'll be in the ICU for at least a week. I'll allow brief visits once she's conscious, but she needs rest. Jordan looked at Dawn. Mr. Bradford, could I speak with you privately? They moved to a quiet corner. Don Bradford looked like he'd aged 10 years in the last 6 hours. There's something you should know, Jordan said. The aneurysm didn't just happen. Your wife has had severely elevated blood pressure for years, probably untreated. That, combined with genetic factors, caused this. If she survives recovery, she'll need significant lifestyle changes. Medication, stress reduction, no more 16-hour workdays. Don nodded slowly. Gloria doesn't do well with being told what to do. Then she'll die, Jordan said bluntly. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this year. But another hemorrhage is almost guaranteed if she doesn't change. Make sure she understands that. I will. And Jordan, Don gripped his shoulder. I know things have been difficult between you and Gloria. But what you did today, saving her life despite everything, that took character. Jordan met his eyes. I'm a doctor, Mr. Bradford. I took an oath. Personal feelings don't factor into it. But as he walked away, Jordan's mind was already turning. Gloria Bradford owed him her life now. And that was a debt that could be collected in interesting ways. 3 days later, Gloria regained consciousness. Jordan was checking her chart when her eyes opened. She stared at the ceiling for a long moment, disoriented. Then her gaze found him. Dr. Torres, he said, before she could speak. You're at Memorial General. You suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm. I performed emergency surgery. You're going to survive. Gloria's mouth moved, but no sound came out. The breathing tube had been removed that morning, but her throat was still raw. Don't try to talk yet, Jordan said, his tone clinical. You need rest. Your family is outside. I'll let them know you're awake. He turned to leave. Wait. Gloria's voice was a rasp. You saved me. Jordan looked back at her. I did. Why? Because I'm a doctor. He moved closer to her bedside. And because despite what you think of me, Mrs. Bradford, I'm not the villain in your story. I never was. Gloria's eyes filled with tears. I was so certain you would let me die. Revenge. That's the difference between us, Jordan said quietly. You see the world as transactions and enemies. I see patients who need help, even when they hate me. He left her there, alone with her thoughts and the beeping monitors. But the game wasn't over. It was just beginning. Chapter 5. The Truth Surfaces. 1 week after Gloria's surgery, Calvin McCarty showed up at Jordan's office with a manila folder. Interesting woman, your mother-in-law, Cal said, dropping the folder on Jordan's desk. Very interesting. Jordan flipped it open. Inside were financial records, business documents, and several photographs. His eyes narrowed as he scanned the contents. How solid is this? He asked. Solid enough for your purposes. Gloria Bradford has been skimming from Bradford Properties for 5 years. Small amounts, carefully hidden in development budgets. Adds up to about $3 million. Jordan's eyebrows rose. Embezzlement. Not quite. Cal pointed to one of the documents. She's been funneling money into a private account, but technically the funds were approved by the board for consulting fees. Thing is, the consultant doesn't exist. It's a shell company she created. So it's fraud. Gray area. Could be prosecuted, but she'd argue it was legitimate business expenses. The real story is where the money went. Cal pulled out another document. She's been financing her sister's lifestyle. Irma Quinn has a gambling problem. Big one. Gloria's been paying off her debts for years to keep it quiet. Jordan sat back, processing. This wasn't the ammunition he'd expected, but it was something. There's more, Cal said. The Hopkins surgeon she's been pushing for your position? Bruce Aguirre? His mother and Gloria went to college together. They've been friends for 40 years. Gloria promised his mother she'd get Bruce the department head position in exchange for a favor. What favor? Irma's son, your wife's cousin, Frankie Fernandez, got a DUI 2 years ago. Could have lost his medical license. Bruce Aguirre's mother used her connections to make it disappear. Gloria's been paying that debt ever since. Jordan felt the pieces clicking into place. Gloria's crusade against him wasn't just about class or money. It was about protecting her carefully constructed image, her control over the family, her web of favors and obligations. And Jordan had threatened all of it simply by existing. What are you going to do with this? Cal asked. Jordan stared at the folder. He could destroy Gloria with this information. Leak it to the board, to the family, watch her reputation crumble. But that wasn't his style. Nothing yet, he said finally. Let her recover first. She needs to be healthy enough to understand what's happening. Cal gave him a look. You're a cold one, document. No, Jordan said. I'm patient. There's a difference. 2 weeks after surgery, Gloria was transferred from ICU to a regular room. Her recovery was progressing well. Jordan's surgical technique had minimized brain damage, though she'd need months of rehabilitation. Alexis visited daily, relieved her mother was alive, but frustrated by Gloria's continued coldness toward Jordan. Don Bradford was there constantly, and Jordan noticed a change in the man. He seemed more assertive, less willing to let Gloria's pronouncements go unchallenged. Jordan maintained professional distance, checking on Gloria as her surgeon, but keeping interactions brief and clinical. Until the day Gloria's neurologist, Dr. Raymond Lyon, pulled him aside. We need to talk about your mother-in-law's long-term prognosis, Lyon said. Privately, they went to Lyon's office. Jordan sat, waiting. The surgery was flawless, Lyon began. You gave her the best possible outcome. But Jordan, I reviewed her full medical history. She's been hiding a lot from her primary care physician. How bad? Stage 2 hypertension, untreated for at least 5 years. Cholesterol through the roof. Early signs of diabetes. She's been popping aspirin and ignoring every warning sign. Lyon leaned forward. She's lucky the aneurysm was the wake-up call and not a massive stroke. Does she know this? I told her this morning. You know what she said? I don't have time to be sick. Lyon shook his head. She's already talking about getting back to work, resuming her schedule. The woman almost died, and she's learned nothing. Jordan wasn't surprised. People like Gloria Bradford didn't change easily. They were too invested in their own narratives. Keep her another week, Jordan said. I'll talk to the family about long-term care requirements. You sure you want to be the one to deliver that news? Given your relationship. I'm her surgeon. It's my responsibility. That evening, Jordan called a family meeting in the hospital conference room. Don Bradford attended, along with Alexis and Irma Quinn. Gloria's adult children from Don's first marriage. Calvin McCarty had uncovered that detail too. A first marriage Gloria rarely mentioned, also came. Jordan stood at the head of the table, professional and composed. Your mother survived the surgery, but her long-term health is precarious, he began. She has multiple risk factors that contributed to the aneurysm. Without significant lifestyle changes, another incident is almost guaranteed. What kind of changes? Don asked. Jordan outlined it all. Diet modifications, exercise, stress reduction, medication compliance. Most importantly, she needs to reduce her workload. The stress of running Bradford Properties is literally killing her. Irma scoffed. Gloria would never step back from the company. It's her whole life. Then she'll be dead within 2 years, Jordan said bluntly. I'm not being dramatic. I'm stating medical fact. The room fell silent. There's something else, Jordan continued. During my research into her case, I discovered some irregularities in her business dealings that may be contributing to her stress levels. He laid out the evidence Cal had gathered. Not all of it, just enough. The shell company, the consulting fees, the connection to Bruce Aguirre. Don Bradford's face went from confusion to shock to anger in stages. She's been taking money from the company? Technically, the board approved the expenditures, but the justifications were fraudulent. To pay off my debts, Irma whispered, her face ashen. Oh God, Gloria, what did you do? I'm presenting this information not to cause family conflict, Jordan said carefully, but because Mrs. Bradford's stress and secrecy are medical liabilities. She needs complete transparency and support to recover. That includes addressing these issues. Don stood abruptly. I need to speak with my wife. Now, the confrontation happened that night. Jordan wasn't present. Alexis told him about it later, her voice shaking. Gloria had broken down, confessing everything. The money, the favors, the web of lies she'd maintained to protect Irma and preserve the family image. Don had been furious, hurt by the deception more than the money. But the revelation Jordan hadn't expected came from Gloria herself. She'd hated Jordan from the first moment because he reminded her of her own father, a poor immigrant who'd worked his way up, who'd built something from nothing. Gloria had spent her whole life trying to distance herself from those roots, crafting an image of old money and breeding. Jordan Torres, with his East LA background and self-made success, had shattered that carefully constructed lie. He was everything she'd tried to escape, everything she'd convinced herself didn't deserve respect. And her daughter had chosen him, validating everything Gloria had spent decades denying. She said she was sorry. Alexis told Jordan, tears streaming. She actually apologized. Said she was wrong about you, wrong about so many things. Jordan held his wife, processing. He'd expected many outcomes from his investigation, but genuine remorse from Gloria Bradford hadn't been one of them. What do you want to do? Alexis asked. With the information about the money? Jordan thought about it. He could still destroy Gloria. The evidence was there. But what would that achieve? Nothing, he said finally. She almost died, Alexis. She knows I saved her life. She knows she was wrong. That's enough. You're sure? I'm sure. But in the back of his mind, Jordan kept the folder Cal had given him, just in case. Because forgiveness was one thing. Foolishness was another. Chapter 6. Shifting Tides. Gloria Bradford's recovery continued steadily over the next month. True to her word after her breakdown, she began the difficult work of actually changing, attending therapy, following medical advice, and most surprisingly, reaching out to Jordan. The first real conversation happened in her hospital room 3 weeks post-surgery. Jordan was reviewing her latest scans when Gloria spoke. "These are good results?" she asked, her voice still tentative around him. "Very good. No signs of vasospasm, excellent tissue healing. You'll have some headaches for a while, but overall, you're recovering better than expected." Silence stretched between them. "Then, why did you really do it?" "Save me." Jordan looked up from the scans. "I told you. I'm a doctor." That's the simple answer. "But I know there's more. You could have let Aguirre take the case, protected yourself from the liability, from my family's potential accusations." Gloria's eyes, so like Alexis's but hardened by years of bitterness, searched his face. "You risked your career for someone who's done nothing but try to destroy you." Jordan set down the tablet and pulled up a chair. "Mrs. Bradford, do you know why I became a neurosurgeon? I assumed for the money and prestige. My sister." Jordan's voice was soft. "Maria. She had a brain tumor when she was 16. Stage 4 glioblastoma. We couldn't afford the best surgeons, settled for whoever would take our insurance. She died on the operating table because the surgeon made a mistake a more experienced specialist wouldn't have made." Gloria's face changed. "I didn't know. Why would you? You never asked about my life, just made assumptions." No bitterness in his voice, just fact. "I became a neurosurgeon so that families like mine wouldn't have to settle. So that skill, not money, would determine who lives and dies. When you collapsed, I didn't see my mother-in-law who hates me. I saw a patient who needed the best possible care. And despite what you think of me, I am the best at what I do." "I was so wrong about you," Gloria whispered. "About everything." "Yes, you were." The bluntness startled her into a laugh. Weak, but genuine. "You don't pull punches, do you? I'm done walking on eggshells around you, Mrs. Bradford. You want a real relationship with your daughter and me? It starts with honesty." Gloria nodded slowly. "I've been talking to my therapist about why I reacted so strongly to you. She says it's about control. About image. She paused. About shame." Jordan waited. "My father was a custodian. My mother cleaned houses. I grew up poor, watching my parents scrape by, watching them be dismissed and disrespected. When I married Dawn, when I married into real money and social position, I swore I'd never be looked down on again. I built this perfect image of old money sophistication." She laughed bitterly. "All a lie. And then you came along, proud of where you came from, unapologetic about your background. You didn't need my approval or my world. You'd already made your own success. And that threatened you. Terrified me. Because if you could be respected without the pretense, without the careful image crafting, what did that say about the life I'd built? The person I'd become?" Jordan leaned back. This was more insight than he'd expected from Gloria Bradford. "What are you going to do with that realization?" "Change. Really change. Don's been after me to step back from Bradford Properties, let the next generation lead. I've always refused because work was my identity, my proof of worth." She gestured to the hospital room. "Almost dying tends to clarify priorities." "It does. I need to make amends, Jordan. Real ones. Not just words." Gloria's expression hardened with determination. Starting with undoing the damage I've caused to your career. The department head decision was scheduled for the following week. The hospital board would vote, and politics, Gloria's politics, had been working against Jordan for months. But Gloria Bradford, when she chose to wield her influence for good rather than spite, was a formidable force. From her hospital bed, she made calls to board members, to donors, to the social circles that had previously heard her subtle poison about Jordan. She didn't just retract her previous statements, she actively championed him. Dr. Jordan Torres is the finest neurosurgeon I've ever encountered, she told Lori Vogel, the board chairman's wife. He saved my life under circumstances where most surgeons would have refused the case. His skill is matched only by his integrity. To Rodney Morris, a major hospital donor and member of her country club, I've been wrong about Dr. Torres, and I'm making it my mission to correct that error. His research is groundbreaking. His patient outcomes are the best in the state. If Memorial wants to remain competitive, they need him leading neurosurgery. Colin Pennington watched the political tide shift with amazement. I don't know what you did, he told Jordan, but suddenly everyone's talking about you like you walk on water. I didn't do anything, Jordan said truthfully. Gloria's doing this on her own. After she tried to destroy you? What? Guilt? Gratitude? Maybe genuine change. Does it matter? Colin grinned. Not if you get the promotion. The board meeting was on a Friday. Jordan didn't attend. Candidates never did. Instead, he performed surgery on a 12-year-old boy with an arteriovenous malformation, losing himself in the precise work of rewiring blood vessels around the boy's brain. He was closing when Colin burst into the OR. You got it, Colin announced, ignoring protocol. Department head. Unanimous vote. Jordan didn't pause in his suturing. Someone get Dr. Pennington out of my, or before he contaminates my sterile field. But he was smiling behind his mask. That night, Jordan took Alexis to dinner. Not somewhere expensive or showy, just their favorite neighborhood Italian place, the kind with checkered tablecloths and family recipes. I'm proud of you, Alexis said, raising her wine glass. You earned this. Did I? Or did your mother's guilt earn it for me? She opened doors, but you earned respect long before she came around. The board wouldn't have voted unanimously if they didn't believe in your abilities. Jordan knew she was right, but part of him still felt uneasy about Gloria's intervention. I don't want to owe her. You don't. She owes you. She's just trying to pay that debt. Alexis reached across the table. Let her. People deserve the chance to make things right. Even after everything. Especially after everything. That's what forgiveness means. Jordan thought about his folder of evidence, still locked in his office drawer. Insurance policy, leverage, proof of Gloria's misdeeds. He'd kept it despite telling Alexis he'd moved on. You're thinking about the investigation, Alexis said, reading him perfectly. How do you? Because I know you. You're smart, thorough, and you don't leave yourself vulnerable. You have something on her, don't you? No point lying. Cal McCarty found some financial irregularities. The shell company, the money to your Aunt Irma. Nothing I planned to use, but you kept it. Just in case. Is that wrong? Alexis considered. Wrong? No. Necessary? Maybe. But Jordan, at some point you have to decide if you trust the change in her, or if you're always going to be waiting for the other shoe to drop. Can't I do both? She laughed. Probably. That's very you. Prepare for the worst. Hope for the best. Her expression sobered. Just don't let paranoia poison what could be a real reconciliation. My mother is trying. That's all I ask, that you give her a real chance. Jordan nodded. I can do that. But the folder stayed in his drawer. Because trust was earned slowly, over time, with consistent action. And Gloria Bradford had only just begun. Chapter 7. The Final Test. 3 months after her surgery, Gloria Bradford returned to work. Not full-time. Her doctors, especially Jordan, had been adamant about reduced hours and stress management. But she was ready to begin transitioning leadership of Bradford Properties to the next generation, which meant confronting the people she'd made promises to. Starting with Wade Drew, Bruce Aguirre's mother's husband, and the favor network she'd built. Jordan learned about it secondhand, through Alexis. Gloria had called a board meeting and laid everything out, the shell company, the diverted funds, her promises to get Aguirre the memorial position. She'd offered her resignation. The board had refused it. Instead, they'd restructured her role, made her chair emeritus with advisory power but not operational control. Don Bradford stepped up as interim CEO, something he should have done years ago. She's really changing, Alexis told Jordan. I've never seen her like this. Humble. Almost vulnerable. Almost dying tends to do that, Jordan said. The question is whether it lasts. He got his answer 2 weeks later. Bruce Aguirre showed up at Memorial, looking for Jordan. They met in the doctor's lounge, the younger surgeon clearly uncomfortable. I owe you an apology, Aguirre said without preamble. I knew Mrs. Bradford was pushing for me to get the department head position. I should have declined, told her it wasn't appropriate. But I was ambitious and I let her use our family connection. Jordan poured himself coffee. You didn't know the full situation. I knew enough. She made it clear she was working against you. I chose to benefit from that instead of questioning it. Aguirre met his eyes. I'm not that person. Or I don't want to be. So I called the board and withdrew my application formally. Recommended you instead. The position's already filled. I know. But I wanted to do the right thing, even if it's late. Aguirre hesitated. Mrs. Bradford called me too. Apologized for dragging me into her crusade. Said you were twice the surgeon I am, and she'd been letting personal vendetta blind her to merit. Jordan raised an eyebrow. She said that. Verbatim. It was humbling, actually. Aguirre smiled wryly. I'm going back to Hopkins. Going to focus on being the kind of surgeon you don't have to scheme to promote. They shook hands, and Jordan felt a weight he didn't know he'd been carrying lift slightly. Aguirre had been a pawn, not an enemy, and he'd owned his part in it. Maybe people really could change. The real test came on a Saturday afternoon in December. Jordan was home, enjoying a rare day off, when his phone rang. Don Bradford. Jordan, I need your help. Not as a doctor. Well, sort of. Gloria's planning to attend the Bradford Properties annual gala next week. Black tie, major donors, the works. Her doctors cleared her, but I'm worried. About what specifically? That she'll overdo it. You know Gloria. She'll want to prove she's back to full strength. I'm afraid she'll exhaust herself and trigger another medical event. Don's voice dropped. Could you come? As family, as her surgeon. Having you there might keep her from pushing too hard. Jordan's first instinct was to refuse. A Bradford gala was exactly the kind of social torture Gloria had weaponized against him for years. But Don sounded genuinely worried, and Jordan had to admit, Gloria had been doing the work to change. I'll be there, he said. Alexis was delighted. This is huge. The gala was always Gloria's domain. Her having you there, in front of all her society friends, is a complete 180. Or it's a test, Jordan said. See if I'll embarrass her in front of her people. You're paranoid. I'm cautious. The night of the gala, Jordan donned his tuxedo, custom-made now. Department heads got paid well, and tried to ignore his discomfort. These events had always felt performative to him. Wealthy people congratulating themselves for writing checks, making connections, playing social chess. But when they arrived at the country club, Gloria was waiting at the entrance. She looked good. Healthy. Her hair was styled simply, her dress elegant without being ostentatious. She'd lost the brittle edge she used to carry like armor. Jordan. She took his hands, a gesture that would have been unthinkable months ago. Thank you for coming. I know this isn't your scene. If I can handle brain surgery, I can handle small talk and rubber chicken. Gloria laughed. Fair point. Come. There are people I want you to meet. She spent the next hour parading Jordan around like a prize, introducing him to donors, board members, and society fixtures. But not with her old passive-aggressive barbs. Instead, she praised him genuinely. Dr. Torres pioneered a new approach to aneurysm repair. He literally wrote the technique that's now being taught across the country. Jordan's research has saved countless lives. I'm proof of that. My son-in-law is brilliant. I was too stubborn to see it for years, but I'm grateful he never gave up on my daughter despite my behavior. Jordan watched the reactions. Surprised, mostly. People who'd heard Gloria's previous criticisms trying to reconcile them with her current praise. During dinner, Jordan found himself seated between Gloria and Lori Vogel, the board chairman's wife. Lori leaned over conspiratorially. I have to say, Dr. Torres, this is quite the transformation. Gloria used to barely mention you, and when she did, she trailed off diplomatically. Things change, Jordan said simply. They certainly do. Though I have to ask, how do you forgive someone who tried to sabotage your career? Jordan glanced at Gloria, who was deep in conversation with Don. I don't know that I have. Fully. But I'm open to the possibility. That's more grace than most would manage. After dinner, there were speeches. Don Bradford stood and talked about the company's future, about change and growth. Then, unexpectedly, he called Gloria to the stage. She looked genuinely surprised. Don handed her the microphone. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, Gloria began, her voice carrying across the ballroom. But my husband ambushed me, so here we are. Polite laughter. Many of you know I suffered a serious medical event recently. A ruptured brain aneurysm. I was told I had minutes to live without immediate surgery. She paused. What you may not know is that the surgeon who saved me was my son-in-law, Dr. Jordan Torres. A man I'd spent years undermining, criticizing, and trying to push out of my daughter's life. The room went silent. I'd convinced myself Jordan was after my family's money, that he'd manipulated my daughter. I said terrible things about him, to him, and tried to damage his career. Gloria's voice wavered slightly. And when I woke up from surgery, when I learned he'd been the one to save me, I realized something. I'd been so wrong about so many things. Jordan Torres didn't marry Alexis for money. He makes his own. He didn't need our family's status. He'd built his own reputation. He didn't save me for gratitude or leverage. He saved me because he's a good man who takes his oath seriously. Everything I'd accused him of being, I was. Obsessed with money, status, control. So tonight, I want to say publicly what I've said to him privately. I'm sorry. I was wrong. And I'm grateful, not just for my life, but for the example he's set. He showed me what real character looks like. She looked directly at Jordan. Thank you for seeing past my worst and choosing to help anyway. The applause was thunderous. Jordan stood and embraced Gloria, aware of 100 phone cameras capturing the moment. Was that real? He whispered. Every word. Gloria whispered back. I'm done pretending. Later that night, driving home with Alexis asleep in the passenger seat, Jordan thought about the evening. About Gloria's public apology, the genuine warmth, the changed dynamics. Maybe she really had transformed. Maybe near-death experiences really did reset priorities. Or maybe it was all an elaborate act. He'd know soon enough. Time would tell if Gloria's change was permanent or performative. But for now, for tonight, Jordan allowed himself to believe in the possibility of redemption. Even for people like Gloria Bradford. Chapter 8. The Revelation. 6 months after Gloria's surgery, Jordan thought he'd seen the last of the drama. The gala had been months ago. Gloria had maintained her changed behavior, and life had settled into something approaching normal. Then Cal McCarty called again. Doc, we need to talk. In person. They met at a diner far from the hospital. Cal slid into the booth looking grim. I kept monitoring Gloria like you asked, Cal began. Making sure the change was real, watching for any backsliding. And she's clean, reformed, genuinely trying to be better. But while I was watching her, I found something else. Cal pulled out a new folder. Your father-in-law, Don Bradford. Jordan's stomach tightened. What about him? He's been having an affair. For 3 years. With his executive assistant, Connie Joyce. The words hit Jordan like a physical blow. Don Bradford, quiet and mild-mannered Don, who'd stood by while Gloria raged. Who'd seemed genuinely remorseful about his wife's behavior toward Jordan. You're sure? Pictures, hotel receipts, text messages. It's ironclad. Cal's expression was sympathetic. There's more. The affair started right around when Gloria began her campaign against you. Jordan processed that. You think Gloria knew? That Don's affair triggered her need for control, made her lash out at me. Possible. Or maybe Don was looking for an escape from Gloria's perfectionism and found it with someone less demanding. Cal shrugged. Either way, your picture-perfect in-laws have cracks. Jordan stared at the folder. Does Gloria know? If she does, she's hiding it well. But Jordan, Cal leaned forward. The question is, what are you going to do with this? That was the question, wasn't it? Jordan could tell Gloria. Destroy her fragile recovery, shatter her marriage, prove that while she'd been wrong about him, she'd been blind to actual betrayal. Or he could tell Alexis. Let his wife know her father wasn't who she thought. Or he could do nothing. Bury it. Let sleeping dogs lie. Avoid the nuclear explosion this information would cause. I need to think, Jordan said finally. Think fast. The assistant, Connie? She's pregnant. 2 months. Don doesn't know yet. Of course. Because why should anything ever be simple? Jordan sat in his office that night, the folder in front of him, mind racing. His first instinct was to tell Alexis. Honesty in marriage, right? But this would destroy her. She idolized her father, saw him as the steady force in her chaotic family. His second instinct was to confront Don directly, demand he come clean or Jordan would do it for him. His third instinct, the one that made him pause, was to wonder if he'd become like Gloria, collecting ammunition, ready to deploy it when convenient. Using information as power. He was still debating when Alexis came to the hospital, bringing him dinner. "You've been here 14 hours, she said, setting down a bag from his favorite taco place. "Even brilliant neurosurgeons need to eat." Jordan looked at his wife. Beautiful, kind, trusting. She didn't deserve this bombshell. "What's wrong?" she asked, immediately picking up on his mood. "If you learned something about your parents, something that would change how you see them, would you want to know?" Alexis sat down slowly. "This is about the investigation into my mother, isn't it?" "Cal found something else. Not about your mother." Her face went pale. "My father." Jordan said nothing, which was answer enough. "An affair." Alexis's voice was barely a whisper. "How did you?" "Because it's the only thing that makes sense. The way he's been different lately, distant. I thought it was stress from the company, from mother's health." She laughed bitterly. "How long?" 3 years, according to Cal. 3 years. The whole time mother was attacking you, father was." She stopped, processing. "Who is it?" "His assistant." "And Alexis, there's more. She's pregnant." Alexis stood abruptly, walked to the window. Jordan watched her shoulders shake, realized she was crying. He went to her, held her while she sobbed. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I wish I didn't have to tell you." "No." Alexis pulled back, wiping her eyes. "No, you did the right thing. I'd rather know than live in ignorance." She took a shaky breath. "Does my mother know?" "Kel doesn't think so. We have to tell her." Jordan blinked. "Alexis, are you sure? After everything she's been through, she deserves to know the truth. She's been working so hard to change, to be better. She can't do that while living a lie." Alexis's jaw set with determination. Jordan recognized. She got it from Gloria. And father needs to face consequences for his choices. This could destroy their marriage. Their marriage has been broken for years. They've just been pretending. Alexis looked at him. "You taught me that, you know? The importance of truth over comfortable lies. You never pretended to be anything but yourself, never hid who you were or where you came from. That's why mother's transformation had to start with honesty. Father needs the same." Jordan had created a monster. A beautiful, ethical, truth-telling monster. "When do you want to do this?" he asked. "Now. Tonight. Before I lose my nerve." They called Gloria and Don to the house. Don arrived first, confused but concerned. Gloria came shortly after, still mindful of her health, but moving easily now. "Is something wrong?" Gloria asked, looking between Jordan and Alexis. "Sit down, both of you," Alexis said. Her voice was steady, but Jordan could see her hands shaking. They sat. Jordan stood behind Alexis, a hand on her shoulder for support. "Dad," Alexis began, "I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to tell me the truth. Have you been having an affair?" Don's face went white, then red, then white again. The silence stretched. "Don." Gloria's voice was deadly quiet. Don looked at his hands. "Yes." Gloria made a sound like she'd been punched. "How long?" 3 years. 3 years. Gloria stood, paced. 3 years you've been lying to me. 3 years while I was..." She stopped. "While I was what? Destroying my relationship with my daughter? Attacking my son-in-law? Is that why you never defended him, Don? Because you were too busy screwing your secretary?" "She's not. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Gloria's voice rose. "Explain it to me, Don. Help me understand how my husband of 30 years could betray me for 3 of them." "You were never there," Don shouted back, his own anger finally surfacing. "You were always working, always focused on the company, on image, on everything except us. I was lonely, Gloria. You made me feel invisible. So you found someone who would see you? Is that it?" "Yes." Don stood too. "Connie listened to me. She cared about my day, my thoughts, my feelings. She didn't dismiss everything I said or make me feel small." "She's pregnant," Alexis said quietly. The room froze. "What?" Gloria whispered. Don collapsed back into his chair. "Oh God. You didn't know?" Jordan observed. "No. Connie never said." Don put his head in his hands. "What have I done?" Gloria stared at her husband like she'd never seen him before. "You got your mistress pregnant." "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "Does it matter?" Gloria's voice was ice. You cheated on me for 3 years. You let me destroy my relationship with my daughter while you played house with someone else. You watched me almost die, watched Jordan save my life, and you never once thought to come clean about your own betrayal. I was afraid. I was ashamed. Get out. Gloria, get out of my house. Get out now before I do something I'll regret. Don looked at Alexis, pleading. She turned away. He looked at Jordan, who kept his expression carefully neutral. Then Don Bradford stood and left, the door closing softly behind him. Gloria stood motionless for a long moment. Then, slowly, she lowered herself back to the couch. I'm sorry, Mother, Alexis said, crying. I'm so sorry. Don't be. Gloria's voice was strange, distant. You did the right thing, telling me. Truth is always better than comfortable lies. I taught you that. Or I should have. She looked at Jordan. Did you know? When you investigated me? No. Kel only found out recently. He was still monitoring to make sure your change was genuine. And, was it? As far as we can tell, yes. Gloria laughed, a broken sound. All this work to become a better person, to fix my relationship with my daughter and son-in-law, to make amends for my behavior. And my husband was lying the entire time. She wiped her eyes. The universe has a dark sense of humor. What are you going to do? Alexis asked. I don't know. Gloria looked exhausted suddenly, every one of her 62 years showing. But I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to fall apart. I'm not going to let this break me. I survived brain surgery. I can survive this. She stood, straightened her spine. I'm going home. Alone. I need time to think. At the door, she paused. Jordan. Yes. Thank you. For telling me. For not keeping secrets to spare my feelings. Your daughter made that call. Then she's become a better person than either of her parents. Gloria smiled sadly. Must have gotten it from her husband. After she left, Jordan held Alexis while she cried herself out. Did we do the right thing? She asked. Yes, Jordan said firmly. Secrets like that are poison. Better to lance the wound than let it fester. Everything's falling apart. No, Jordan corrected. Everything's being revealed for what it really is. What happens next depends on whether people choose truth or more lies. And somewhere in the city, Don Bradford sat in a hotel room, contemplating the wreckage of his choices, while Gloria Bradford sat in her empty house, realizing that transformation was a long road, and hers had only just begun. Chapter 9, The Victory. 3 weeks after the revelation about Don's affair, Jordan was called to a meeting with the hospital's executive board. He arrived expecting routine matters, budget discussions, research proposals, the usual administrative tedium. Instead, he found himself facing Lori Vogel and 3 other board members, all wearing serious expressions. Dr. Torres, thank you for coming, Lori began. We need to discuss a sensitive matter. Jordan's guard went up immediately. What kind of matter? Don Bradford approached us last week with a complaint. He's alleging that you used your position as his wife's surgeon to conduct an unauthorized investigation into their family, that you violated patient privacy laws, and that you deliberately destroyed their marriage by revealing information about his personal life. Jordan felt a cold fury settle in his chest. Don Bradford, caught and exposed, was trying to take Jordan down with him. Those are serious allegations, Jordan said carefully. They are. Which is why we need your side of the story. Jordan laid it out. The investigation into Gloria's business dealings, conducted privately, not using hospital resources or patient information. The discovery of Don's affair by a private investigator who'd been monitoring Gloria with Jordan's permission. The decision to tell Alexis and Gloria because secrets of that magnitude were destructive. At no point did I access patient records inappropriately or use my position unethically, Jordan concluded. Everything I learned came from legal, private investigation. And the decision to reveal Don's affair was made by my wife, not me. Lori nodded slowly. We've been reviewing the timeline and the circumstances. Mr. Bradford's complaint seems to be more about deflecting consequences than legitimate ethics violations. She paused. There's another issue, though. Mr. Bradford has also approached several major donors, trying to turn them against the hospital for employing you. He's claiming you're dangerous, that you manipulate patients and their families. Of course he is, Jordan said bitterly. Because admitting his own mistakes is too hard. The board needs to decide how to handle this. Mr. Bradford is a significant donor himself, and his wife was on the board until her health issues. This could become a public relations nightmare. Jordan felt the familiar weight of fighting against money and influence. Despite everything, despite saving Gloria's life, despite earning his position, despite years of excellence, one wealthy man's vendetta could still threaten his career. Then Lori smiled, which is why it's fortunate that Gloria Bradford scheduled a press conference for tomorrow afternoon. She asked me to ensure you'd be aware of it. Jordan blinked. Gloria did what? Watch the news tomorrow, Dr. Torres. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. The press conference was held at the Bradford Properties headquarters. Jordan watched it on the television in his office, Colin Pennington beside him. Gloria Bradford stood at a podium, looking composed and fierce. Don was notably absent. Thank you for coming, Gloria began. I've called this press conference to address rumors and to set the record straight about several matters. She detailed her health crisis, the surgery that saved her life, and her public transformation. Then she pivoted. Recently, my husband of 30 years, Don Bradford, has been making accusations against my son-in-law, Dr. Jordan Torres. He claims Jordan violated ethics and destroyed our marriage. I'm here to tell you that these claims are false, self-serving, and a cowardly attempt to avoid taking responsibility for his own actions. The cameras flashed. Gloria didn't flinch. Don Bradford had an affair that lasted 3 years. He lied to me, to our daughter, and to everyone around us. When he was discovered, not through any hospital records or violation of privacy, but through legitimate private investigation, he chose to attack the person who revealed the truth rather than face his own behavior. She leaned into the microphone. I want to be absolutely clear. Dr. Jordan Torres is a man of exceptional integrity. He saved my life despite the fact that I'd spent years trying to destroy his career and his marriage to my daughter. He had every reason to refuse my case, to let another surgeon handle it, to protect himself from potential liability. Instead, he put his skills and his oath first. That is who Jordan Torres is. Gloria's voice hardened. My husband, on the other hand, has proven to be a coward and a liar. I am filing for divorce. Don Bradford is no longer associated with Bradford Properties in any capacity. And if he continues to spread lies about Dr. Torres, I will use every resource at my disposal to ensure the truth is known. She looked directly into the camera. To Memorial General Hospital's board, Dr. Torres has my complete support and endorsement. Anyone attempting to undermine him will answer to me. And to my son-in-law, if you're watching this, thank you for being the kind of man I wish I'd recognized sooner. My daughter chose well. Gloria walked away from the podium without taking questions, leaving the press in chaos. Colin whistled low. Well, that's one way to handle it. Jordan's phone buzzed. A text from Alexis. She didn't tell me she was doing this. Are you okay? He texted back. I'm fine. Your mother is terrifying. Runs in the family. I've noticed. Within an hour, the board sent word that Don Bradford's complaint had been dismissed. Several donors who'd been swayed by Don's campaign called to apologize. The story made national news, not as a scandal about Jordan, but as a story of redemption and accountability. Jordan Torres, the neurosurgeon from East LA who'd married into money and endured years of accusations, was suddenly being portrayed as the hero who'd saved his mother-in-law's life despite her cruelty. Which was true, but the public attention made him uncomfortable. That evening, Gloria appeared at Jordan's office. She looked tired but determined. Can we talk? She asked. Jordan gestured for her to sit. That was quite a press conference. I couldn't let Don destroy you after everything. It wasn't right. Gloria folded her hands. I meant what I said, Jordan. You're a good man. Better than my family deserved. I married Alexis, not your family. Lucky for you. Gloria smiled sadly. I'm divorcing Don. Moving forward alone for the first time in decades. It's terrifying, but necessary. Yes. She met his eyes. I wanted to ask your advice. Not as my surgeon, but as someone who rebuilt themselves from nothing. How do you start over? Jordan leaned back. You focus on who you want to become, not who you were. You make different choices. You accept that you'll fail sometimes, but you keep trying. He paused. And you surround yourself with people who see you clearly and still choose to support you. Like Alexis did with you, when I was making your life hell. Exactly like that. Gloria nodded slowly. I'm stepping down from Bradford Properties completely, letting the next generation run it. I'm going to focus on philanthropy, on actually making a difference instead of just collecting social status. That sounds like a good start. And I'm funding a new neurosurgery research center. At Memorial. In your name. Jordan sat up straight. Gloria, that's not necessary. It absolutely is. You saved my life. You changed it. And you did it without expecting anything in return. That deserves recognition. She smiled. Besides, I'm wealthy and I need a tax write-off. Let me do this. Jordan studied her face, looking for manipulation or ulterior motives. But all he saw was genuine sincerity. Okay, he said finally. But I get to name the real beneficiary. The Maria Torres Memorial Research Center. After my sister. Gloria's eyes softened. The one who died because you couldn't afford the best surgeon. She's the reason I'm here. If we're doing this, we do it in her name. Deal. They shook hands, and in that moment, Jordan realized the war was truly over. Not because Gloria had been defeated, but because she'd chosen to become an ally instead of an enemy. 6 months later, Jordan stood at the dedication ceremony for the Maria Torres Memorial Research Center. Alexis was beside him, 6 months pregnant with their first child. Gloria stood on his other side, healthy and vibrant, her divorce finalized and her new life taking shape. Your sister would be proud, Gloria said quietly. You've honored her memory in the best possible way. We, Jordan corrected. We honored her. You funded this. You inspired it. The ceremony proceeded. Speeches were made, ribbons were cut, and Jordan felt a profound sense of completion. He'd come so far from the scared kid in East LA watching his sister die. He'd built a career, a life, a legacy, and he'd done it without compromising who he was. That evening, at home with Alexis, Jordan finally took the folder Cal had given him, the one about Gloria's financial misdeeds, and shredded it. What was that? Alexis asked. Old ammunition I don't need anymore. You kept it all this time? Insurance. But I don't need insurance against your mother anymore. She's proven herself. Alexis smiled and took his hand. You know what I love about you? My devastating good looks and natural charm. Besides that, you gave people chances to change. My mother, Dawn, even though he didn't take it, you believed in redemption. I believed in truth, Jordan corrected. Redemption is what people do with it. Well, whatever the philosophy, it worked. You won. Jordan pulled her close. No, we won. We built a life together despite everything trying to tear us apart. That's the real victory. And as they sat together, planning for their child's future, Jordan Torres, the kid from East LA, the brilliant surgeon, the man who'd faced down money and privilege and hate, felt something he'd earned through years of struggle. Peace. The war with Gloria Bradford had ended not with destruction, but with transformation. Not with revenge, but with redemption. And that, Jordan thought, was the best possible outcome. Epilogue. 5 years later, Dr. Jordan Torres published a groundbreaking paper on minimally invasive aneurysm repair that became the new gold standard in neurosurgery. The research was conducted at the Maria Torres Memorial Research Center, funded entirely by the Bradford Foundation. Gloria Bradford became one of the nation's leading philanthropists, focusing on medical research and education for underprivileged students. She met with Jordan monthly, a relationship that had evolved into genuine mutual respect and something approaching friendship. Don Bradford remarried his former assistant and moved to Arizona. He saw his daughter and grandson occasionally, but remained estranged from most of the family. Alexis Torres published her first novel, a thinly veiled story about family, redemption, and the power of truth. It became a bestseller. And Jordan continued doing what he'd always done, saving lives, training the next generation of surgeons, and proving that excellence, integrity, and hard work mattered more than money or connections. The boy from East LA had become a legend in his field, not through revenge or destruction, but through being exactly who he'd always been. And that was the greatest victory of all. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.